So we're going to talk about how to find expressions for area and perimeter of a given shape, or a given rectangle in this case. So the first one here, I want to make up some side lengths to use. So I'm going to use a side length of 7 on this side. And on the other side, I'm going to call this x plus, I don't know, how about 5? So for the x plus 5, I'm going to split this up kind of arbitrarily, where the x stops and where the 5 begins. So I'm going to draw that kind of right here. So what I'm saying is this part is x, this part is 5. So the whole thing is x plus 5, but this is the x part and this is the 5 part. Total x plus 5. So to find the area of this shape, I'd have to do length times width, because area is always length times width. So it doesn't matter what you call length and width. I can call this side the length, and then I can call the other side the width, or vice versa. Again, doesn't matter. I'm going to use the 7 first. So 7 times the width. In this case, the width is not a number. It's not a variable. It's actually an expression. It has an x and a 5. The whole thing is x plus 5. So the area would be 7 times x plus 5. So then the other way to write this would be to look at the two pieces of the area. So the two pieces of the area would be this rectangle's area plus this rectangle's area. So for the first part, it would be a 7 times x. Well, that's just 7x. And for the other part, the other right side here, I don't have this side labeled. I'm going to label the right side here as 7 as well. Because if this left side is 7, this right side is also 7. So this area here is a 5 times 7, which is 35. So this area is also equal to 7x plus 35. Now, this should not be surprising to us because we know that 7 times x is 7x, 7 times 5 is 35, using our distributive property. So this is the exact same thing we already would expect without having to see it in the picture. That's how I find the area of this rectangle. Let's now look at the perimeter. The perimeter means to add up all the sides. So for the perimeter here, we're going to add up all the sides on the outside. We're not going to use this side length here because that's not the perimeter. That's not making the outside frame of this shape. So our perimeter is going to be 7 plus x plus 5 plus 7 plus 5 plus x. That's adding up all these sides around the outside there. And then to simplify this, this would be just adding our numbers together, adding our x's together. You have 2 x's, and then 7 plus 5 would be 12, plus 7 plus 5 is another 12, which is 24. And that would be our perimeter. So if you want it as an expression, we wouldn't have equal signs. If you wanted it as an equation, then you would say A equals and P equals. That would make our expressions now into equations. That's how we do area and perimeter of a rectangle with expressions, with variables. Let's do one more example of that. Let's draw another rectangle here. And we could obviously turn this rectangle. We could do any kind of combination we want. I'm going to look at one you could see that has something a little bit different. It might look something like 4x plus 2, and then like, I don't know, how about 6x? Which may seem a little weird that they're both x's, and that's fine though, that does work. Let's do the area again. So 6x would be the whole side, and then the 4x plus 2, that's two things being separated with a plus sign. So if you wanted to, you could separate this and have a 4x piece and a 2 piece. So we could call this maybe the 4x and this part the 2. Again, this whole side is still 4x plus 2. It's just showing the two side pieces separated. So then for our area, we would do length times width. So we could call this the length, and then the other side there the width. Again, not that part matters. So it would be 4x plus 2 times 6x. So we could then find each piece though. If I do 4x times 6x to try and find this area in here. So that would be, well, 4x times 6x is the same thing as 4 times 6 times x times x. That's our commutative property of multiplication. You can change the order of how you multiply. So that would be 24. And x times x makes an x square. Because that's why we call this x squared. So x times x is x squared. So that would be 24x squared. and then 6x times 2 would be 12x. So this simplified, we could make this without parentheses here. If you were to distribute that 6x in, you get the 24x squared plus 12x. And I know what you're thinking. Why did I distribute it that way? Well, it works this way as well. You can multiply that 6 in from the front or from the right side. It doesn't actually matter. You get the same thing, 24x squared plus 12x for the area. And then perimeter, I always find the perimeter to be easier because you're just adding up all the pieces, and they're all labeled. So 6x plus 4x plus 2 plus 6x plus 2 plus 4x. Essentially, every side length we have for a rectangle, there are 2 of them, which is why you see some duplicates here. Adding up all our x's, we've got 10 here and 10 more there, so 20 x's. 2 and 2 makes 4. So there's our area, and there's our perimeter of these rectangular shapes.